For decades, we've been told that if you want to lose weight, you should buy foods that are labeled diet, low calorie, non-fat, low fat, sugar-free. And a lot of people trying to lose weight will fill your grocery carts with all these foods thinking that they are making the healthiest choice. But when you actually read the ingredients labels on many of these diet products, you start noticing something quite surprising. Many diet foods are heavily processed products designed to taste good while still appearing healthy. And this means that the label on the front does not always match what is actually inside the foods that we're buying. And so in this series, we've been learning how to read the ingredients labels so grocery shopping becomes less confusing. In the first videos, we learned where to look the first place, the ingredients list. And in the second video, we uncovered how sugar hides under so many different names. And in the third video, we talked about how some high protein foods are really processed snacks with proteins added. And today we are going to be looking at another category that confuses a lot of people, which is diet foods and weight loss products. A lot of food labels that, want to sound healthy, usually use these like wordings, but they're loosely defined, such as like low fat, light, diet, sugar free, low calorie, keto friendly. These words up front sound very reassuring on the front package, but they don't always tell you how processed the food actually is. And they know this because when you're in your weight loss journey, a lot of times you're like wanting that process to go as fast as possible, but also wanting that process to be, not feel so restrictive um and like cutthroat. So at least for me, when I was going through this experience, it's sometimes easy to just you want them to lie to you almost. Like you're not gonna go and do the digging. And so when I would look at the front packaging and it will have all these words to make me feel reassured, and I wouldn't go further than that. I'm like, okay, like I can like allow myself to be lied to because I want to be able to eat food that tastes good, but is also claiming like weight loss on there. Um, and again, food marketing always tells a story, but the truth will always be in the ingredients list, which is why once I learned how to like finally read, you don't have to necessarily know every word that is on there, but just using the guidelines that I have provided, that alone will help redirect how much, you ignore, how much you're just not aware. And I guarantee you at least 50 to even 70% of the food that you get, because they are out there. It's just that you're going to have to do just a little bit more work when looking for like healthy grocery options. Because unfortunately, they make it so easy for us to, you know, choose the wrong food, and also decision fatigue with a lot of foods. So planning and doing your research as you are doing your groceries and finding like brands that when you look at the ingredients list is actually clean, you can make a note of that and keep that list so that when you go grocery shopping, it's not every single time. Just having this like brief ideas of what to look for, that has helped me so much more because a lot of the times the weight gain, the high blood pressures, all this stuff, they don't they don't necessarily even come from like the food itself. It comes from the the additives, the flavorings, the extra crap that they've added to it that does not need to be in there. Versus if you just went and bought the whole food yourself and cooked it, you know. But anyways, we can start with the example of, when they say low fat or non-fat. The food industry tends to remove fat, and when they remove fat, something important happens. The flavor disappears. And so often, many of these companies will add sugar, starch, flavorings to make the product taste good again. So if you look at your low-fat yogurts or snacks, you're going to see that they still tend to contain a lot of sugar in the product. And another trick that they get you, I would say, the artificial sweetener trick for especially like with the diet drinks. You're drinking your diet, you're thinking that, oh, I am doing something like, or instead of having a regular Coke, I'm drinking a Diet Coke. So like that's a little bit healthier. And then for me, again, sometimes I do just use logic because you can't tell me this has zero sugar added and yet I'm tasting something sweet. So somebody is lying. And so, again, the biggest way they've tricked us with these diet sodas and stuff is that they rely on a lot of sweeteners like sucralose, aspartame. And aspartame has been shown to be 200 times sweeter than regular sugar, and you will find that in a lot of diet sodas. Or acesulfame potassium. Um, yeah, these if you guys are interested, I will create a list of like sugar, like all the things that the different tricks they use to label sugar, especially some of these artificial, sugar and like all these ingredients that I listed, like sucralose, aspartame, these are ingredients used to make food taste sweet without necessarily adding sugar. And so because it's not labeled sugar, they can get away with that. Um, and when they say some of these things is often, especially when you see those artificial sweeteners, that's also a sign that the food is highly processed. And I am going to share my screen so that we can see some of these examples. Um, yeah, we can see, let me share some of what I was talking about. Why is this not letting me share? Only love can hurt like this. Sorry, I don't know why that song just popped up in my head. But here is the window. I, yeah, I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, I want to make this bigger. Okay. It's just not gonna let me. She's gonna do it like that. Okay. Here's an example for this is Diet Coke, It makes sense. It's zero, what? It's Diet Coke. Let's look at the ingredients. Look at this. Zero sugar. But look at the ingredients list. Carbonated water, color. This is coloring, aspartame. This is what I was talking about earlier, where um this aspartame specifically is so much sweeter than regular sugar. And that is why your Diet Coke still tastes heavily sugary. And then they have all these extra stuff and natural flavors. Whatever the hell that means, natural flavors. But anyways, this is your key right here that like, please, might as well just make your own juice at home. Or if you really want soda-y vibes, I like to drink carbonated water and then add your own sugar. Whatever it is, all of this is just to give you information so that you are deciding for yourself. You're not here buying things thinking that they mean one thing when they mean the other, because there are moments where I do consciously eat the foods that are not that are processed, and I do that without while taking the shame out of it. But most of the time, because I understand my ingredients list, I do tend to choose the foods that I know will support me in maintaining and managing my weight and overall everything in between. And here we're going to look at this yogurt brand. Um, and with this, it's light and fit, non-fat, gluten-free vanilla Greek yogurt. And they have good amount of protein, which is good. Look at that. Look at the way they advertise this. Good source of protein, fat-free, gluten-free, diabetes friendly. And then you look at the ingredients list. Cultured, pasteurized, non-fat milk. Water, fructose. Fructose is another example of an artificial sweetener. And you have here, like I said, starch. They took out the um one sec. So what food companies do very well of is when they remove, like I said earlier, when they remove the fat from the food, the milk or whatever, they need something, it removes the natural flavor. And the way they substitute this flavor is adding sugar and starch. And as you see here, you see the fructose. You see, this is the fructose. You see the sucralose. And then you see the modified food starch. So to me, like, this is a highly processed yogurt. And because it has protein in it, and the buzzword is protein, it has protein, is non-fat, is fat-free. Of course, like I would want to buy this, but these are food that people consume and wonder why they're not seeing results. Um, and so again, this is why this is important to know because it can be very frustrating when you think you're doing everything you're supposed to do and you have things like this holding you back. And here we have I was looking at some of the frozen foods that Weight Watchers offers, and these are some of like the brands. And Mhm. And Lean Cuisine is one of those. And just the name Lean Cuisine, of course. Like, I want me food that is going to make me feel lean and is low in calories. And there's Alfredo pasta with broccoli chicken. And look at this. It says here you could lose up to 18 pounds in 12 weeks. Um, and when you look at the ingredients list, while that may be true, because when you calorie count, you can't, there is a possibility of getting results. Does that work for everyone? No. But if you are doing your diet based off of calorie counting, you can honestly almost eat anything and like if you meet your caloric window and you will still lose weight. And so that's why like I like to teach overall health because yes, there's so many ways that you can go around and figure out ways to lose the weight. But what are you putting in your body? And for me, and that's why I will always say like calorie counting to me is not that important because the quantity versus the quality, quality will always trump quantity to me because 1,000 calories of like a nice big juicy steak, grass-fed, lean protein or even the fat in there. Come on, we like the fat in there. It's healthy for you. You want that fat. There's good and bad. There's healthy and not so healthy fats. The fat in meat, yeah, 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 you need that. Versus, you know, even versus 1,000 calories of just straight up highly processed junk, or even less than that. You give 500 calories, and I promise you, the person's body will be able to metabolize that better, will actually get nutrients from it. And when you're feeding your body actual nutritious filled meals, I promise you, weight loss becomes a byproduct. If you want to do it, to me, the hard way is counting my calories. And the easy way for me is just understanding what it is I'm putting in my body. And once I can do that, I now just focus on making sure most of the time I'm eating those nutrient dense foods and not foods that are highly processed. And this is what perfect prime example of a food desert to me because you're calling it food, but look at this paragraphs. I'm not even gonna go through this. It's a whole big paragraph of like the ingredients, which is the first sign right there is highly, highly processed. And even if you do lose the weight, but your food is not supporting all your other bodily functions, how do you expect to, this will cause inflammation in your body, create all types of like gut issues. And when your body, a stressed body is not a regulated body. And now it makes and when your body is now regulated, it makes doing the healthy habits feel hard. It will make it easy for you to go back because you're stressed, your body's going to want to go back to its natural baseline of comfort. And that is not always the healthiest habits that we've incorporated. And this is why it is very, very important to bring all these aspects in your journey of not just losing weight, but to become your healthiest self, like incorporating nervous system regulation, making sure you're not just you're eating actually nutrients dense food, you are moving your body. If you are doing these things, I promise you, like weight loss is not even going to be something you think about. That noise, I don't have as much food noise. I used to have crazy food noise. I used to be so cautious of like what I'm eating, shaming myself, blah blah. Yeah, and it's not like my diet is perfect either. There's always room to improve. But because I would say 80% of the time, it's contains I just eat till like I know I'm full. And when I start to get early hunger cues to eat, I go ahead and eat. I kind of let my body dictate, but you can't, if you're still in the beginning phases, you haven't built enough relationship with your body to be able to understand these cues. And so that's why, like, regulating your nervous system will help you become better interoceptive with your body cues, and having a more nutritious diet will only expedite that process. And there's so many options out there, so many things for you to try and experiment with. Like, make this process fun. And it's now like it's so much easier to like be able to just tell what is healthy versus not. And oops, let me show another example right here of, stir fry, chicken vegetable stir fry. Nothing artificial, made with 100% natural chicken. This is the front label. On track. This is also part of the GLP-1 friendly. But this is also part of like the weight. I think when I looked at the Weight Watchers like meals, um, and all these stuff, great. Like, I love like the front, but the front always tells you the story. The ingredients list tells you the truth. This is what they want you to believe versus this is what is actually in their food. And if you can see just from looking at it already, when I start to see very long lines, that's already alarms going off right there. And then there's what? There's sugar, um, starch, natural flavorings, additives. These are additives. More sugar, more starch. All these things are there to help add more, I guess, flavor to it. Um, but yeah, these are just another example. And then this is another one, I believe. Yeah. Another, like for me, if I'm going into a weight loss program, I'm expecting the frozen foods recommendations should be something that's actually healthy. And that's also something else. My goodness, you guys can look at this in your own time. But I'm not reading all of this. Like, what? This is your breakfast. The first thing you put in your body in the day is this, and you wonder why your days are like drawn out. You feel you're always drowsy. You don't have enough energy. You just don't feel good in your body because we're consistently, consciously or unconsciously just feeding it nothing. Because this is nothing. There's no food that's highly processed has zero nutritional value. And now your body starts to think that you're starving and then holds on to the fat in your body because it thinks that you're starving. So yeah, let me stop sharing. Oops, nope. Let me stop. How do you, guys, I'm still learning how to, why is this not? Okay, it is not giving me the option to pretty much stop sharing. So let me just go ahead and conclude this video. Again, thank you guys for watching these series on how to like understand like ingredients list. And again, I will say one reason people feel frustrated with dieting is because they heavily rely on products design specifically for weight loss, but sometimes focusing on simpler foods, whole foods, ingredients when grocery shopping can make this journey less confusing. This is not about perfection or restriction or shaming yourself. We don't do that over here. We just collect information as data, and then we use that data to help us make better decisions. Um, and I would say a simple guide I would use when I see a product name labeled diet or fat free is just flip over, go to the ingredients list first, and if that already got a paragraph, put it back. Just put it back. That's simple. Just that one thing right there will save you a lot of headache and heartache in this journey of you, what was what I was gonna say? Of you becoming the healthiest, baddest, sexiest, boldest, most regulated version of you. And if you like watching these types of content, make sure to subscribe because I'm only gonna keep providing more and more. And let me know if there's anything specific you will want me to touch on. Toodles. Okay.